families of hostages took to the streets near Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's private residence, where they carried photos of their loved ones and sounded a siren. At the site of the Nova Music Festival, where the hundreds of partygoers and staff were killed by Palestinian militants and scores others taken hostage, Israeli President Isaac Herzog joined grieving families and friends marking the day. The Hamas attack on Israeli communities around Gaza and Israel's relentless campaign in response have destabilized the Middle East, while scale of the killing and destruction has horrified people worldwide. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has meanwhile marked this grim anniversary with a video message arguing that the time for peace, international law and justice has come.
Today marks 1 year since the horrific events of October 7th, when Hamas launched a large-scale terror attack in Israel, killing over 1,250 Israelis and foreign nationals, including children and women. More than 250 people were abducted and taken to Gaza, including many women and children. The October 7th attack scarred souls, and on this day, we remember all those who were brutally killed and suffered unspeakable violence, including sexual violence, as they were simply living their lives. This is a day for the global community to repeat in the loudest voice our utter condemnation of the abhorrent acts of Hamas, including the taking of hostages. Over the course of the past year, I have met with the families of hostages, learned more about the lives, hopes and dreams of their loved ones, and shared in their anguish and pain. I cannot imagine the torture they are forced to endure every day, and I demand once again the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. Until then, Hamas must allow the International Committee of the Red Cross to visit those hostages. The 7th of October is naturally a day to focus on the events of that awful day. I express my solidarity with all the victims and their loved ones. Since October 7th, a wave of shocking violence and bloodshed has erupted. The war that has followed the terrible attacks of 1 year ago continues to shatter lives and inflict profound human suffering for Palestinians in Gaza and now the people of Lebanon. I have spoken out about this often and clearly. It's time for the release of the hostages, time to silence the guns, time to stop the suffering that has engulfed the region. Time for peace, international law, and justice. The United Nations is fully committed to achieving these goals. In the midst of so much bloodshed and division, we must hold on to hope. Let us honor the memory of the victims, reunite families, and end the suffering and violence in the whole Middle East. And let us never stop working for a lasting solution to the conflict, where Israel, Palestine, and all other countries of the region can finally live in peace and dignity and with respect for one another.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa will continue to play its part in supporting efforts to bring a just and lasting solution that ends the occupation of Palestine and brings peace to the Middle East region. Ramaphosa was writing in his letter to the nation today, exactly a year after the attack on Israel by Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups. The attack killed 1,000 Israelis and sparked an onslaught that has so far claimed more than 43,000 Palestinian lives. The president has warned that the escalation of conflicts in the region, which now includes Lebanon's Hezbollah group and Iran, threatens to plunge the region into a war in which civilians will bear the greatest and cruelest brunt. The Israeli military launched airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburbs yesterday in the most intense bombardment of the Lebanese capital since sharply escalating its campaign against the Hezbollah group last month. Large fireballs lit the darkened skyline and booms reverberated across Beirut. The Israeli military said fighter jets struck targets in Beirut belonging to Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters and weapons storage facilities. It said strikes also targeted Hezbollah in southern Lebanon and Bekaa area. The Israeli bombardment came on the eve of the first anniversary of the October 7th Hamas attack that triggered a war that has sparked protests worldwide and risks igniting a far wider war in the Middle East.